Race 1 at Spa-Francorchamps and a first pole position in DTM for Porsche SSR Performance and Dennis Olsen. Off they went towards La Source with Thomas Preining, the Norris Ring race winner, alongside in his Porsche, trying to go around the outside at the hairpin on a dry line, but a damp track offline. And then coming out of the hairpin at La Source, Lucas Auer, third in the championship, getting onto the case of both of them, drawing alongside Thomas Preining then as they ran down towards the famous Eau Rouge for the first time, side by side. Two didn't fit into one, and Thomas Preining sent into a huge moment sideways and on the grass, losing all of his momentum, and then everybody else streaming past him on the run uphill through the long Camel Straight. But amazingly, he'd kept the car pointed in the right direction. So Dennis Olsen led, Lucas Auer in second, Maximilian Gotz, the reigning champion, in third place, and Laurens Vanthoor tucking into fourth place, just ahead of Kelvin van der Linde. A replay of this huge moment then at the fastest corner on the track, and somehow just about holding on to it there, despite being on the wet curb, the wet grass, and having a car that was at a 90-degree angle to the circuit itself. Lucas Auer was the first of the front runners to come in and make his pit stop then from second place, looking for his second win of the DTM 2022 season. It all looked like a good pit stop, but then he was called back in and they had to re-secure the front left, which cost him around about 3 seconds.
So Auer had a mistake in his pit stop, so you will not fight Auer in the outlet.
Dennis Olsen coming out and ahead of Lucas Auer.
Copy. I touched the wall on the pit lane.
And then giving the team the news that he clipped the pit wall. So he headed up through Eau Rouge and towards Raidillon ahead of Lucas Auer, but with a bigger advantage now than before the pit stops due to that problem. And then Maximilian Gotz came out in between them. He'd been running in third place, but of course made time up due to that problem for his Winwood Racing teammate. However, it would take a long time to get the tyres up to temperature, particularly on a damp, cold track. So Lucas Auer already looming large in the mirrors, the long Camel Straight to come. And with tyres already up to temperature, he would surely be able to whistle past his teammate. Gotz still weaving left and right to try and generate heat into the tyres, but he'd have slightly fresher tyres towards the end of the race. A key moment for Maro Engel then, as he went past Rolf Innerschen, and there was contact between the Mercedes and the Lamborghini. Maro Engel had been looking good for a top 5 finish, but that resulted in a left rear puncture and would end his race. And there was more drama a few laps later. Lucas Auer running in a net second place. A puncture to the front left of his car sent him wide at Brussels. His teammate came through, and that would be the end of his race. No points then for the driver third in the championship. René Rast hadn't had a great qualifying session in the wet conditions, but things were working out in the race. He moved ahead of Kelvin van der Linde, would eventually end up in fourth place. The top three were secure though, with Dennis Olsen, Maximilian Gotz and Thomas Preining well clear of the rest of the field. On a dry track, but with the threat of rain potentially in the air for the final 5 or 10 minutes of the race. And as it started to rain, things started to liven up in the battles just on the fringe of the top 10, involving Sheldon van der Linde, who had to start from 22nd on the grid, the championship leader, with a great move here, getting ahead of Arjun Mining. Ricardo Feller went the other side of him. Esteban Moot had gone through at the head of the quartet, and then Sheldon van der Linde picked up another position. Then there was more action as Mirko Bortolotti, from 20th on the grid, second in the championship, went around the outside of Nick Cassidy's Ferrari, just behind Marco Wittmann, had taken the final championship point and 10th place away from David Schumacher. But at the head of the field, Maximilian Gotz was keeping up the pressure. He put in the Auto Hero fastest lap of the race on the final lap, but it wasn't quite enough. And Dennis Olsen headed for his first DTM victory.
Yes, boys!
Congrats, dude. Very good job. Very good job. Thank you for this.
So Dennis Olsen, having become the 9th different pole sitter of the season, now became the 9th different winner from 11 races. And with that result, moved up to fourth place in the championship. A first podium of the season for Maxi Gotz, and third place going to Thomas Preining. There then, the results. Just behind René Rast, Kelvin van der Linde and Nico Muller rounded out the top 6 in race 1.